some cases of actually solved ones and some that are mysteries. People that vanished. I mean, there's all kinds of mysteries out there, but these ones are very controversial because it seems like they got away with it. And I did part 1 over in my Patreon page last weekend. If you're interested, I'll have a link down below if you want to check it out. But that one was a little bit too creepy for me. This one, it's a little bit more interesting because I think it opens to the idea of, different people's judgment and what they believe was an accident or was something that the killer could have control or not. Now, let me explain. Brian Thomas wakes up and calls 911. And he tells the dispatcher, "What have I done? I think I killed my wife. Can you send someone?" A few minutes later, the police arrives, and this case, by the way, happened in Wales. The woman is dead, and the man is arrested. When Brian tells the police that he was asleep when his wife died and that he doesn't remember anything, he also tells the police that he has something that he's been battling, he's been trying to overcome by himself for the last 50 years. You see, Brian had night terrors, but he never got them treated. And I'm going to put a side note here, as somebody who has night terrors that had nothing to do with, the kind of thing that I do here on YouTube or anything. I had them since I was 6 years old maybe. So I have an input on this at the end, okay? But just so you know, he tells the police he was sleeping and that they must know that he has night terrors. If you don't know what night terrors are, I'm gonna do a quick recap of how it feels. I don't know the definition of it, which I'm sure that you can find on Google, but it feels like you are experiencing everything that you're dreaming. So your heart will start racing, you'll start sweating, you can talk, you can walk around, you can basically experience your nightmare. It is not in your head. It is not, the kind of thing that you wake up and you find yourself shaking. No. A night terror, it's pretty terrifying to watch somebody have, because I had a son that had them when he was little. But it is also very tricky to know what to do. So if you have somebody that suffer from these, you know that you have to find the right way to, quote unquote, deal with it. Because, and I'll explain the treatment at the end, but basically you are in a nightmare, and your body, your physical body, is experiencing everything as if it was happening. It's kind of I like to think of it as a veil. We have a veil in between reality and nightmares or dreaming. But when as I get them less and less, most of the time I'll remember waking up from them. But it's not safe to wake up somebody that is having a night terror. You just have to grab them by the hand, tell them that it's okay, nothing is gonna happen, and put them in bed after you can tell that they calm down. Then you can go back to bed. Basically, that's what we've been told because of my son's night terrors. I'll talk about a treatment at the end because Mr. Brian told the police that he never got any kind of treatment for it. Now, he was sent to a specialist, a sleep specialist, yes, there is such a thing, and they concluded that he was not only having night terrors, but he was sleepwalking and was having other kind of sleep disorders, and that on the night that his wife died, he could have been the killer without even knowing it. Brian told him that he was having a nightmare that night about a quote-unquote race boy. In his nightmare, the race boy broke into their camper where they were staying that night and attacked his wife. According to Brian, the day before, he remembers seeing a quote-unquote group of racers, and he feels like that stuck in his mind for some reason. Maybe he got scared, maybe he thought that they looked very suspicious. You know, it stood out. Now, in his nightmare, this race boy got inside the camper where they were staying, and he started fighting him because he wanted to attack his wife. Again, when you suffer of night terrors, you not only experience your nightmare, sometimes, according to experts, you can act on your nightmares. If you're being chased, you can start randomly running. If you're being grabbed, you can maybe try to, with your own arms, trying to get away from whoever is trying to cut you. Now, this guy got it worse because the acting on it meant that he was fighting somebody. And in his head, in his nightmare, he was fighting this race boy. But in real life, according to the experts, he didn't realize that he was fighting his wife. Now the question for the court is, does that make him a murderer? When he gets to the trial, he pled not guilty, and he said that it was his illness and not himself that is responsible for his wife's murder. The judge told him, quote, "You are a decent man and a devoted husband. I strongly suspect that you may well be feeling a sense of guilt. In the eyes of the law, you bear no responsibility." So, what do you think? Did he get away with it? Or his illness was in fact responsible for what he did that night? Now, coming back to the point where he said that he was to say that when I looked into treatment, I went to a sleep clinic and they told me that basically there's nothing medicine-wise that can help you but taking some kind of a very strong sleep medicine that they even prescribed for my maybe 8-year-old at the time. The specialist told me that it is dangerous for kids that have night terrors to go out camping, and we go camping quite a lot. Back then, we used to go. I mean, it was the summertime, so not every weekend, but very, very often. And I knew, because I experienced this, that I wasn't sleeping okay because I was watching over my son, who I was afraid who was going to get up and leave. His things were very mild compared to what I had as a kid. You know, he would just wake up in the middle of the night and start talking like or fighting with somebody, or cousin in the middle of the night, and I'm like, you know, that was what he did. Sometimes he would wake up sweating and crying with his eyes open, but he was still sleeping. So I would have to hug him, kiss him, comfort him, tell him that it'd be okay, that he was safe. And then after a few minutes he would go back to sleep, even though he would never remember what he did that night. So saying that he didn't get treatment, well, if you don't know what he was suffering from, if you just know the diagnosis but not really how this works, maybe you'd be more inclined to say, well, you didn't look for treatment. But truth be told, there's not much treatment. As long as you're healthy and you're breathing properly at night, and there's nothing really they can do. So, not getting treatment really, I don't know how much good that could have done. I have to admit that I've never heard about a case this extreme. And I want you to know that this is not common for somebody with night terrors. This is the exception to the rule. Most of the time, night terrors, they just play with your own fears, but they make you experience the fear and not so much the physical aspect, like fighting somebody or running, or, you know, is it possible? Yes. But it's not common. And I think this is the first case that I've heard of somebody acting violently while having a night terror, to the point that he killed his own wife. So, technically, for a lot of people, he got away with it. He killed his wife and never had to pay for it. But I think that if we believe, as the judge, that he didn't mean to do it, I think the punishment is going to be in him forever. I think that that'd be one of the worst things that you can do to yourself. You know, do something like this and then have to live with the consequences of what you did. And have him say that it was because of as before when he was experiencing it. But now that he knows, he's blaming that. So I don't know. What do you think about this case? Did he get away with it? Is he punished enough to know that he did that? I'm gonna tell you a few funny stories. Just to make this case a little bit, to kind of show the other side of this, okay? I've been sleepwalking for as long as I can remember. And I mentioned this in another video, some of the crazy things that I've done, like trying to bake a cake while I was sleeping and things like that. And you have to understand that even though I'm 36, my husband and I, we've been together since the 8th grade for me. So, if anybody knows me, it's him. So some of the things I do, he finds them very funny. And he'll make fun of me for days. One of the recent episodes of me sleepwalking, it was super creepy, and I'm a little bit ashamed, but I'm gonna tell the story anyways. Apparently, my husband tried to record this because when it's something like weird like this, he likes to record me so I can see it for myself, but he couldn't. Well, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I woke up, but while I was sleepwalking, I sat on the bed and I started petting my husband's head, and I started talking. You're so cute. You know, that probably wasn't a night terror. I was probably having some kind of a lucid dream or something with a dog or my dog. I do that all the time to him. You know, whenever I go by him, I just go to his head and I'm like, you're so cute. He puts that silly face like, I know. But if that wasn't enough, I kept doing that for a while until my husband got so freaked out that he just had to tell me, please go back to sleep, you're creeping me out. I didn't remember anything the next day, but I guess I'm telling you this story not because, you know, I'm proud of it. No, not really. I never think about, oh, I'm so proud of this, I'm gonna share it now. I guess I'm sharing that just to let you know that dealing with sleeping disorders, it's a process not for only the person that is going through them, but for the family, or you know, the husband or the wife. And I feel like if I was recently married, my husband would be like, you know what, you're too creepy for me, thank you, but no thank you. You know what I mean? It's weird because it's like, it seems like I'm talking to a different person when you wake up in the middle of the night and start, or when you're sleepwalking. I've opened windows in the middle of the night, and that's why I wake up and realize that I'm sleepwalking. And again, I've tried to get them treated, but there's not much but a pill to go to sleep, into deeper sleep. Now that I am getting older, I don't get them that much, maybe months. And night terrors, they're like maybe once a year, once every 6 months. And I guess maybe that's a reason why I always like to understand the mind. Or maybe that's why I always wanted to be a psychologist. Or maybe that's the reason why I like to do this kind of research and try to find out if there is some kind of scientific explanation for a lot of the things that we do not know about our brains. I think that this case was extreme and extremely sad. But at the same time, I understand the frustration of people thinking that this guy got a green flag to just move on with his life after killing his wife. I don't know how the court or how the trial looked. Honestly, I couldn't find anything online as far as the video. But I'm assuming that if the judge believes that he was clearly sad about this and punishing himself for what he did, that science said that it wasn't his fault. My goodness, that's horrible. Am I afraid that I'll do anything crazy? No, I don't. I've been sleepwalking and having night terrors for the last, 30 years. I am creepily funny. I've tried to use the bathroom inside a closet. I've tried to do all kinds of random things that if I wrote a book about them, it would be pretty weirdly funny. But when I read about this case, I was like, should I share this case? Because I knew I would have to share my story with you. Or should I just skip it so I don't look like a weirdo? I don't mind. I get judgment every single day, and that's okay. That's how people is. That's the nature of people. But I guess I'm just sharing my story to give you perspective that, yeah, maybe the guy had an extreme case of that, and maybe he was really not awake when he did it. But this kind of sleeping disorder is more common than you think. It is not as treated as you think that it could be. It is not studied as it should be. Because you're sleeping. But you're spending a third of your life sleeping. So I think that maybe not because of this case, but because of the quote-unquote illness, that we have to find out what we can do about it. Again, a fascinating part of the brain that I do not understand. I always describe this as somebody, as yourself like you attacking yourself. Your brain playing with the darkest and creepiest parts of your brain while you're trying to sleep. Rest. I can't imagine if somebody had to go through that every single day, which apparently was the case of this Brian Thomas guy. Maybe he was extreme, maybe he did need the sleeping pill. But do you think that he should be responsible for what he did? Or you think that it was his illness? Does that mean that when somebody that's schizophrenic kills somebody should be not punished? Or is it, in some cases, in this one in particular, there was a lot of people that believe that. But I think that if you're this guy's shoes for a minute and try to understand if he in fact did it while he was sleeping. How he must feel now. Like, is he sleeping tied to the bed? Is he sleeping, with somebody watching over him, Is he sleeping? Is he hiding knives at night? I mean, just think about the kind of mental drag that you have to endure when you don't know what you're capable of. Hopefully he found treatment. Hopefully he got better. Hopefully he's living a normal life. But just share below in the comments what you think. Was this a fair trial? Was it unfair? Is this something that should be treated like an illness? Is it not? I understand that we're all going to see things differently, and that's okay. That is why I wanted to start this series. But the next case, gosh, that one is not as, I don't know, interesting as this one. It's more evidence, hardcore evidence that was ignored. So I hope that you join me in this new series. Thank you so much for being there, guys. I appreciate the support. If you want to show extra support to the channel, I would love for you to give this video a rating, either a thumbs up or down. However you feel about the video. Thank you so much